Support for Donnybrook Last Call is provided in part by Design Air Heating and Cooling.
Well, the mayor said she has lost confidence in Sheriff Albert Montgomery, and that she must be catching the red eye because most of us caught that flight a little bit earlier. All right. While I'm not exactly opposed, I am exactly opposed to any state body removing somebody, an elected official. I'll throw it out there to the table. Has Sheriff Montgomery worn out his welcome in less than 6 months in office?
It struck me as there's that saying, not having to do with politics, but that people don't make a change until you've actually hit rock bottom. You know, that your life, until it gets to the very bottom, you'll never make that substantial change. I believe we are at that rock bottom. and this is in an office that has never stood out as a stellar example of good governing, okay? And he has somehow made Vernon Betts and Jim Murphy and the people who came before him, Sheriff Montgomery has made them look like borderline geniuses with the way this guy has mismanaged the office. And you and I always agree that I really loathe removing people from office unless they were elected. So let them be unelected. But this guy his behavior has not only been fiscally irresponsible, he then decides that one of the few things he was supposed to do, which was take prisoners to the hospital, I'm not going to do that anymore. But he's investigating crimes when he wants to, which he's not supposed to do at all. So if there was ever a time...
Get to the name badges.
When I go...
I was going to say,
that's my favorite.
I was going to leave that for somebody else.
Let's get to the stinking badges.
That's my favorite part of the story.
I was going to leave that. I was
badges.
going to leave the badges to somebody else.
I mean, he clearly doesn't know what the office is supposed to do. When he talks about, well, he can't transport prisoners because that would hurt his ability to do the core investigative work, core law enforcement. Well, you don't have any core law enforcement work.
And see, I'm going to disagree. I think he knows exactly what he views the office to do, which is to get Alfred Montgomery paid. I honestly believe that's exactly what he's trying to do, to get himself paid.
Well, and I think
that's how he sees the office. That's his duty.
I think he also wants to get reelected. He's like, Vernon Betts was always out there trying to schmooze jurors. Sure. You're just standing in line exhausted, waiting to see if you're on a jury. And, hi, I'm Vernon Betts, So he goes out and is trying to provide tornado relief. And we're like, Sheriff Montgomery, we don't need you to provide tornado relief. Yeah. Run the jail. Get the prisoners to the hospital. He's lost sight of the core function. That said, I would have said up until a couple days ago, I don't think there's a single defender left. Well, it turns out there is. Retired judge David Mason, very well-respected judge in the circuit court. Yeah. He's now working for him part-time, and he says he still believes in this guy, and he thinks he can turn this around. So,
is he related to him?
No, he is not related.
Okay.
You did say he's working for him, though, right?
Okay.
Every couple days there's a new thing.
Yes.
I mean, you can't get golf carts. Well, a couple days later, I got golf carts. and I needed a new SUV to take home.
Right.
Yeah.
Top of the line.
Yeah, one thing after another.
Well, he's got to get his kids to school.
Yeah, that's true. But it's
like
stuff. It's like anybody who has a toddler in their lives. That's what this. No. Right. Yes. No. Yeah. Yes. I mean, that's exactly what this is like, and I think we're in for some. You can just feel it coming. We're in for some national, possibly international headlines.
I can't wait to see the cost of the deputy who had to roll the dice.
Oh my gosh!
Keep his job when that employment lawsuit is going to come out. Yeah, how much that settlement costs?
A settlement that'll never reach courtroom.
I love Vernon Betts, and I wish they'd offer him his job back.
I know.
He will be appointed in the interim if there is a change. Okay, there's a change at KDHX. In a few months, we're not going to be able to listen to it on the air any longer. A bankruptcy judge has ruled in favor of those that are going to sell it to an entity that owns Joy 99. So we'll have another gospel station out there, or Christian music station out there. I'll start with you, Sarah. This is a loss for the community, don't you think?
Yeah, I do. I mean, this was a station that had so many dedicated volunteers that knew so much about music and brought us such interesting things. You would tune in and, you could get reggae, you could get ska, you could get bluegrass, just things that you wouldn't ever hear on commercial radio. I have stopped listening to it now when they fired all the volunteers. I was like, that's it, I'm done. And I think it's really sad.
Me too. I think it goes beyond music. This was one of those little magical kingdoms that we had. And to see it go away, it's sort of the hippies have lost, sailed away off Middle Earth. It's
On a
it's
boat.
sad thing.
On a boat.
On a boat.
On a yacht.
On a small
I mean,
shrinking yacht.
But they can still broadcast somewhere on the internet, right? I mean,
yeah.
Well,
they
the
could.
people who fired all these volunteers and then hoarded the assets, they're going to keep broadcasting on some HD signal that nobody is going to listen to because this is just their way of sort of continuing to propagate their salaries. That's the end of this road.
Well, then let me be the Scrooge part of this, as I was a few weeks back about the building in Carondelet Park when it burned, and I said, frankly, I'm really not going to miss it. And I kind of feel that same way about KDHX. I mean, I'm sorry they're gone, but it's not going to affect my life one way or the other. But let's just be done with this. I mean, the courts have ruled. How about it's just KDHX was great, people loved it, and now it's gone.
Forever. Yeah.
And I think that is where we're at. But I think even though you didn't listen to it yourself, it was kind of an example of like what I love about St. Louis was there was just quirky people who came together and did things on a shoestring with duct tape, and it somehow kind of worked. And it feels like that era is passing before our eyes.
Well, and I did listen to it until they came up with those streaming services that allowed me access to every recorded song in the history of music.
Yeah.
So I didn't need to go to that station anymore to hear that type of music.
Except sometimes on KDHX, you'd hear a song that you didn't know before.
Yeah.
I mean, so it isn't like, hey, I could have looked this one up, and of course I couldn't. I'm not handy at that stuff.
Yeah.
But even if I was, I wouldn't know what to look for. But if you listen to KDHX, you'd hear, hey, I like that song.
And they did have programs that I was not necessarily interested in, but I would listen to for like 10 minutes because it was there. But Joe, I'm with you. Once I got satellite radio, the preset on KDHX, just like every other broadcast radio station, went away. And I mean, so,
Sure.
That's where we're at.
Yep.
So, meanwhile, in Webster Groves, a restaurateur has put a sign in the window says, if you smell like pot, please do not come in here. Now, marijuana is now legal in Missouri, and I don't know who the reefer smell judge is, like you smell too much like marijuana, and as opposed to you just smell, period. But anyway, I'm sure there has been some reaction to this throughout the community. When you read that the first time, Bill, how did you feel?
Well, I eat gummies, so this didn't affect me. and I think, and Sarah, you did the story.
I did.
But
Yeah.
this was a sushi place, right?
Right.
Well, and I don't eat sushi.
I don't either,
So
right.
you guys can say that KDHX doesn't change your life.
smell,
I
my
have to
God,
say, this
you're
didn't
talking-
change my life. But it's an interesting story, sir. What kind of reaction have you gotten?
Yeah, I feel bad for this restaurant because when they put up this sign, they said the result was overwhelmingly positive. People said, thank you, I'm tired of smelling this skunky aroma. And then we wrote about it. We sought them out. We saw the sign, thought it was funny, kind of blew up their spot a little bit. And there was a powerful backlash of stoners who are just livid at them. And did these people actually ever eat there in the first place? I don't know. But everyone online has their pitchforks out. And this poor restaurant, they said it had just gotten overwhelming. The servers were just tired of it. And, they said they welcome people who are high on cannabis. They just don't want people who reek of it.
I thought the stoners were supposed to be mellow, right? I mean honestly,
not anymore. Not anymore.
the angry stoner, that seems to be a contradiction in terms.
Yeah.
I just don't want, I want to meet the person who applies for that job, right? Sitting at the front, I mean, I have to smell you for a moment, that kind of stuff. Because how are they going to?
Well, it was more a polite request. It didn't say you're barred. It said please.
Yeah,
Don't.
and it was a
But if you-
handwritten
but if you-
sign.
Yeah, it was
Right,
like
it-
almost like a crayon.
I guess it's sort of in an almost libertarian. It's these people's restaurant.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're saying this. I mean, I've been one who's espoused, I think we should have smoking bars with a big sign that says, we smoke cigarettes in here. Don't come in here if you don't want to come in here. And you go, okay. I mean, that person has their money invested in that business, and they're trying to run it the best they can. And they say, we don't want people that reek of marijuana. We don't want people who don't have shoes. I mean, I tend to give the person who's running that restaurant the big benefit of the doubt. If that's going to hurt their business, well, that's the risk they're taking. But my guess is, as a restaurant owner, probably heard from the people who eat there, which are probably not the people online who are, just getting all offended by it. They're saying, you know what, this place is really starting to, it smells like I'm at a Grateful Dead concert in my car. So if it's their business. Let them run it how they want. If it hurts their business, it was their call.
If you just entered into some sort of political race, you just won.
Yeah.
There are smokers everywhere who are
right.
saying.
But now keep in mind,
they've got
before we go,
tears
that
streaming
part
down.
of that was people who worked in restaurants, but
Right.
now the whole secondhand
That's
smoke.
right.
Another debate, but there'll be another debate next week on Donnybrook, and I'll be back. Charlie, where are you? We miss you.